Welcome to the Show Me the Way podcast. I am your host, Andrea Miller, and I'm so excited to bring this show to you. Show Me the Way is a podcast dedicated to exploring the journeys of those who have faced adversity and found themselves on unexpected paths. We will have meaningful, thoughtful conversations about challenges we have faced and how we discovered and forged new direction. Prepare to be inspired and to uncover your own strength as you listen to relatable and motivating stories. Life has a way of twisting and turning, and we often need a fresh perspective to understand how to navigate. Let's show each other the way. In this powerful and deeply inspiring episode, I sit down with Kari Grunwald, who shares her journey through cancer and the life-changing perspective she gained along the way. Introduced to me by a friend and supporter of the show, Kari opens up about the lowest points of her diagnosis and how she found strength through faith, community, and a positive mindset. Her story is one of vulnerability, resilience, and hope, reminding us that even in our darkest moments, we can rise. Kari speaks candidly about the importance of slowing down, prioritizing self-care, and creating healthy habits that support long-term well-being. Whether you're facing a personal battle or simply need a reminder of your own inner strength, Kari's words will leave you uplifted and motivated. And her fight song, Turbulence by Pink, reminding us we can get through difficult times. When it hits, don't forget, as scary as it gets, it's just turbulence. Welcome back to the Show Me the Way podcast. I'm thrilled to welcome my next guest, Kari Grunwald. You've heard me mention my friend Christine, who's part of a networking group with me. She also introduced me to Kari, and she continues to look out for guests for the show. One of these days, I will have to have her on. But for now, she's really helping with a lot of support and helping me see some other people that she thinks would be great guests. So loving that. Kari and I have chatted briefly. We recognize that we have a lot in common. We definitely enjoyed speaking with one another. We're from the same area in high school, just reminding us how small this world is. Kari works in a school system. She's a mom, a wife, a very active person. She's dealt with some health issues of her own and came out on the other side exuding joy and an amazingly positive outlook. So I'm really looking forward to speaking with her and allowing her to share her story with all of you. So welcome to the show, Kari.
Thank you so much for having me on. This is a pleasure. My first
Good.
podcast, so I'm
Well,
excited.
good.
Thank you.
Yay. That makes me feel good. First podcast. Cool. Well, I know that we have a lot we can talk about, but before we jump in, why don't you tell us a little bit more about you? Because, like I said, we've only chatted briefly, so anxious to hear more about you.
Oh, absolutely. So I currently live in Huron Township. My husband and I, this December, will be celebrating 30 years of marriage.
That's
Yes,
awesome.
it's a
Congrats.
very long time. We went to Woodhaven High School together, so we're high school sweethearts, actually. So yes, this December will be 30 years. We have two amazing, beautiful boys. Benjamin is 23. He graduated from Wayne State, and he is working at a PR firm in Detroit. And my youngest son is just wrapping up his junior year at Alma College, and he plays baseball there for Alma. He just turned 21. I can't believe he's going to be a senior. Crazy. And like you had mentioned, I'm an occupational therapist. I've been working for the Lincoln Park Public Schools for this is my 23rd year. So I've been with the school system for 23 years. Crazy. Time has gone by really fast. It's
Yes.
crazy.
Wow.
But I love my job. I love what I do. And then I was teaching cycle. So I was teaching spin classes. So up until my unfortunate pivot in life, as you would say, I was teaching cycle classes. So I was doing that probably on top of working full time. I was teaching probably a good 3 to 4 classes a week. So sometimes boot camp classes and cycle classes, but I did that as well. So I do try to stay pretty active, but I have an amazing family, love my boys. They keep me going every single day. So yeah, so that's,
Wow. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
awesome.
you. Thank
That's
you for
me.
sharing all of that. Yes. If you know me, listeners, I went to Woodhaven High School as well. So we've got that in common, which is just crazy because I met Christine way outside of Woodhaven. So that's very interesting.
It's a
But
small
yes,
world.
it is a
Yes.
small world. So yeah,
Yes.
we're both in Michigan and just I have two boys. There's just so many things in common. So it's really fun
Absolutely.
to have you on. Awesome. Yeah, you kind of mentioned a little bit that you kind of alluded to what we're going to get into here because we've all dealt with pivots in our life. I started the Show Me the Way podcast because I wanted to share the story of when my younger son was diagnosed with Duchenne muscular dystrophy. He is
Yes.
15 now. He was 5 when we found that out. And talk about a pivot. Your life just changes when you get a diagnosis like that, either for yourself or for your child. And the path you thought you were on, the picture you saw, just changes. And my son has just taught me so much about perspective and sometimes your best laid out plan does not work. It just doesn't happen. And sometimes you have no idea what next week or next year is going to look like. And you have to just make a new path and adapt to it and change your perspective and learn from it. And I've had so many great guests that have just continued to teach that to me and our listeners. And I know we're going to get the same from you. I mean, geez, the first time we talked, I'm like, I could talk to you all day. I feel like we've been friends forever. So it was so wonderful that Christine just put us together. She is a godsend in my life for sure. And I'm really excited to just talk with you and pull out the perspective that you've gained from what you've been through. You probably could share 14 different stories, different times that you've had to pivot in life. But I'm guessing we're kind of going to focus a little bit to what you alluded to. But whatever is on your heart is what I would love for you to share. So I will turn the mic over to you and allow you to share a time in your life where you thought you were going on one path and you needed to pivot and what that looked like.
Absolutely. And I love, the premise of your podcast because that's exactly what I feel happens. We do have pivots in life. And when you think things are going to go one way, then all of a sudden it is a huge pivot and you have to figure things out, and that's exactly what happened to me. Um, and it's funny. I've had a lot of pivots in my life, but this one was the most significant, honestly. And I did come out on the other side, and I've learned a lot. But just to kind of back up a little bit, so I would say probably about it was about 4 years ago. This is kind of when my journey started. So, I was going for I'm really good at staying on top of things, staying on top of my health and going and getting things checked out just like I should. So I had gone for my yearly mammogram. I went, and again, this was about 4 years ago, and they had seen something. So they saw like a cluster of cells. And when they saw that, they didn't like that very much. So then I had to go back and have a biopsy completed. And when they did that, it came back what's called atypical ductal hyperplasia. So it's a cluster of cells. They don't like to see the cluster of cells. And I wasn't staged at that time, but they were precancerous. So my doctor, and I'm going to give her a huge, huge, huge shout out, Dr. Helen Mabry through Corewell Health now. She's my breast surgeon at the time. And she said, I don't really like the looks of that. We're going to go in. Let's just get them out. Take them out, then we'll be done. So that's what I did. We went in, we took care of all of that. I'd had a few biopsies leading up to that surgery, but they went in, she took them out. I was given a clean bill of health. Everything was good. So I said, awesome, this is wonderful. And then a year later, I had had my mammogram again. Everything was fine. And then 10 months later, I felt something in my right breast. And it was not like your typical lump per se. It kind of felt, it's really hard for me to explain, rectangular almost. And as I'm feeling, and it hurt really, really bad. And you know how they say, cancer doesn't hurt or breast cancer doesn't hurt. Well, this really hurt. And at first I thought, well, perhaps this is scar tissue from the biopsies that I had, the surgery that I had, and so I'm kind of going with that for a little while. Talked to some people, kind of explained what I was feeling and experiencing, and they said, yeah, could be scar tissue. So I had waited probably a couple months because I really wasn't sure. And then I thought, no, I'm going to go in. I'm going to go in
Did
and
it
get this
hurt
looked at.
that whole time? Like the whole 2 months were you
The
in
whole
pain?
two,
Okay.
yeah, it did. It
And
did
like
hurt.
lifting your arm and that kind of thing or
That
no?
was okay. I
Okay.
could lift my arm, I could do those things, but it hurt to touch, and then I couldn't
Okay.
lay on my stomach. I couldn't, that
Mhm.
hurt, but I could exercise, work out. I would get a little bit more fatigued than usual, but again, I was working full time and teaching
Mhm.
4 cycle
Mhm.
classes a week, so I was pretty tired. So anyway, I went in, I got it checked. I talked to the nurse practitioner, and she had said to me, it does feel like scar tissue could be, but why don't we get it checked out just in case? So I said, okay, that sounds good. So I had an ultrasound and another mammogram is what I had done. And that was on a Monday. I did that. And after I had had that, believe it or not, the radiologist came out and said to me, okay, so you could wait for 6 months to see what happens, or you can have this biopsied because they obviously saw something. And I thought to myself, I'm not waiting 6 months. Andrew, I mean, I can't even imagine what would have happened to me had I waited 6 months.
Right. I wonder why she said that to you. That's
I, I
interesting.
I really don't know. And initially I kind of thought, well, if she's saying 6 months, maybe this isn't as bad as I thought. So I said no. So that was on a Monday. Friday, I actually of that same week I went and I had it biopsied. And it was a non-invasive procedure, which wasn't so bad because I've had really bad biopsies in the past. This was non-invasive. And when I had gone in, I think they knew right away. They knew something was wrong right away. So I waited that weekend, went to work on Monday the following week, worked that day. And as some of your listeners may or may not have experienced this or know, but there's, what they call the My Chart that you can look at through whatever health system you are. They create charts for you that you can go in and look. So, of course, I was nervous. I worked all day, and literally, it was supposed to teach cycle class that night. On Monday night, I got into my car. I just happened to open up my chart, and there it was, invasive ductal, carcinoma. And mm, I kind of went in shock, and I was extremely overwhelmed because I found this. I didn't get a phone call initially. It was something I found. So I immediately put a call into my doctor's office, and they called me back, I would say 15 minutes later, and they said, Kari, yes, unfortunately, you have breast cancer. So that was the day, and this was March of 2023. It was in March of 2023. So this was like a couple years after I had the first, issue. So needless to say, I was in shock. I cried hysterically. It was not something that I expected to hear. So that was on a Monday. And they said, so now we need to wait for the pathology to come back. Because they did, they looked at the pathology of the breast cancer that you have so they can determine what type of breast cancer you have. And she, my nurse navigator had said, let's hope that it's hormone driven. I, I mean, none of this was any good, really, honestly. But
Right, right.
she had said if it's hormone driven, that's kind of like estrogen positive, progesterone positive, HER2 negative. So she's like, let's just wait and see how it comes back. So I said, okay. So then Tuesday she called back and she said, well, unfortunately, it's triple negative breast cancer. So at first I thought, well, that's good. And she said, well, it's not really that good, unfortunately. So triple negative, it's a type of breast cancer. There's so many, there's the hormone driven. I had the triple negative. So basically what that is they're just saying that they don't really know what, like, hormones didn't cause this. They're not really sure what caused this. So I said, okay. So that was on a Tuesday. And Dr. Mabry said, get her in my office on Wednesday. I want her in here. So then I was in her office on a Wednesday, and she was in shock. Like, we're about the same age. She said, Kari, we're the same age. She goes, I consider you my friend. I can't believe this is happening to you. She goes, I am going to do everything for you that I would want done to myself. And I said, okay. And we talked about the triple negative at that time. We talked about how I would have to go through chemotherapy, the fact that I would lose my hair, I would lose my eyebrows, my eyelashes. I was numb at the time, perfectly numb. I was totally numb. But she said, we're going to go in and we're going to take care of this. So on Thursday of that week, so Monday diagnosis, Tuesday pathology, Wednesday I see her. She's like, we're going in on Thursday, we're getting it out. So I had 4 days, Andrea, to process everything that was going on in my life. 4 days. But to this day, that Thursday when I went in and she removed, I think I had 2 tumors at the time, but she also removed 10 lymph nodes, 9 of which were positive. Oh, that was not good either, and my margins were not clear. So, really no good news across the board. And when I remember waking up from surgery and my mom and dad were crying, my husband was crying, and I was like, "What's happening?" So again, just completely numb. But I truly believe that day when she removed it that I felt cancer free immediately, but I knew I still had a long road ahead of me. So I just really had very little time to process anything because it happened so quickly. But I trusted her, and you know, I kept thinking in the back of my mind, she's going to take really good care of me because she's going to do everything for me she'd want done to herself. So it happened really fast, and I was stage 3 at the time, stage 3A. And, with the lymph node involvement, I knew I would have to have chemo, then the double mastectomy and the radiation. I had everything. I had the genetic testing done as well, which was good because they tested 77 genes and none of them tested positive. I had one that came back, which is called the check 2, which my doctor believes it could have potentially what caused my cancer. However, they have to do more research on that particular gene. So they can't say whether or not that caused it. They have to do more research on that. Yeah.
Is
So
it in your family?
not in my immediate family. So on my dad's side of the family, I have cousins that were diagnosed with breast cancer. On my mom's side of the family, her mom's family all had some form of cancer, not necessarily breast cancer. So no, there's no history of breast cancer in my family.
Doing those tests and finding out what caused it, does that change the plan or the path? Or, I mean, does it really matter to find out exactly where it came from at this point?
Honestly, I do think it is really good to have genetic testing done.
Mm.
I really do. Because there's what they call the BRCA gene, which some women do test positive for. And, if you do test positive for that, a lot of times women will go in and they'll end up having to have hysterectomies because with the BRCA gene, it can come back in your pancreas, it can come back in your lungs, it can come back ovarian, uterine cancer. That's why women end up having hysterectomies. So personally, I do think it's a really, really good idea to have the genetic testing done. And had I tested positive for these, my sister would have had to have gone and gotten tested. My boys would have had to have gone to get tested. Yes. Yep. 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 Absolutely. So I do think had this never happened to me, I never would have been tested, for genetically tested, I should say. I've learned a lot even through that process as well. So they don't really know, and I have gone through this over and over and over, and I'll talk about this coming up, in a little bit. There, I think, could be multiple reasons why this happened because again, I questioned and repeatedly asked myself, why me? Why did this happen to me? What did I do to myself? And when I look back, prior to my diagnosis, there were definitely, I think, a lot of things that I was doing to myself and things that I definitely have changed now in my life. But looking back, I think to myself, okay, kind of makes sense. Because I've done a lot of reading, I've done a lot of research, and you had asked prior to this podcast some of the things that you wanted to talk about. Just in terms of my initial reaction and how I felt. And initially I was shocked. I was numb, then I got angry. Why me? Why is this happening to me? I'm a good person. I'm active. I'm somewhat healthy. Why? Why did this happen to me? I had all of those feelings and then I hit rock bottom. I hit rock bottom and never in my life did I ever experience anxiety, depression. Um, Never. I had no idea what that felt like. And there were days where I didn't want to get out of bed. And my husband would come in, lift up the blinds. Let's go. Come on. We can do this. You've got this. You're strong. Let's fight. You've got this. I said, no, I don't want to do this. I can't do this. I don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to go and sit in that chair and have all these drugs pumped in me. I don't, I'm bald. All of these things are happening to me. And I just, yeah, so I hit rock bottom. But I am ever, ever, ever so thankful for my husband every single day and for the support that I received through this, it's unfathomable. It truly, truly is. I have no words. I mean, if I the one thing that I can say that I feel like coming out of this, like I went through my treatment and everything in the summertime. So that really helped because I
Yeah,
could
you
sit
weren't at
outside.
work. Mhm.
Exactly. I was not at
Yeah.
work. I could sit outside. I could take in nature. I slowed down, and every single day, I had either a phone call, a text message, a card in the mail, a gift on my porch, meals showing up, friends coming over every day. Carrie, let's go. We're going to go for a walk. Let's go take a walk. Every day I was walking with my friends. I had gifts, bracelets up my arm, for as like gifts. I had a really good friend of mine set up a meal plan. She set up for me to be able to reach out to people because I didn't put any of this on social media. I'm not the kind of person. I didn't want all of that attention, but those that were close to me, they wanted to know, how are you doing? How is surgery going? Or this or that. So I kind of put all of these people in a group and I was able to communicate with all of them, every single day. So she set that up for me. I had meals and to this day, a social worker that I work with, she sends me like a devotion or a positive message every day. I get cards in the mail still every day. I get people that will message, Carrie, just thinking about you, how you doing? It's going to bring me to tears right now thinking about this because to have that support meant the world to me and it got me through the hardest time of my life, the biggest pivot of my life. And, so much has changed since then. But I really had to give a shout out to my family, my amazing family, and my amazing friends, my amazing husband who kept me going every single day through this
I
journey.
I am so glad that you shared all of that. You're not gonna believe it, but I just did another interview just an hour before.
Oh,
I That's the first time I've had 2 interviews in one day, and the other person went through breast cancer too.
okay.
Her story is very different. She shared some other things, so I do think they're both gonna be very different, unique,
Mm,
impactful conversations. She talks so much about the importance of village, of having a village, and
absolutely.
I love hearing it also from you. And it also reminds me something I've been trying to do and to remember and be more intentional about is if you're thinking about someone, send them a message. If someone shares with you that they're having a hard time, it's okay to reach out and say, "Hey, I'm here." Or I love coming to your house and saying, "Let's go for a walk." Like I think that's such good advice and I've heard it from you and I heard it in the previous conversation and so it's really just coming on home today. So listeners, this is our reminder when somebody's going through something, don't be afraid. Don't be like, "Oh, I better not reach out. They're tired or they're going through this or they're going through that." It means so much. It sounds like it means so much to hear from people that way.
It absolutely does. And I will tell you, I mean, it truly, truly has made and did make a huge impact on my life. It kept me going. It kept me wanting to fight. My fight song was called Turbulence by Pink. And that's exactly what this was. This was a bump in the road. It's just turbulence for me. And I can do this. I can get through this. A friend of mine said that to me and she said, Carrie, I heard the song by Pink and I immediately thought of you and I listened to the words and I was like, that's it. This is it. This is exactly what it is. It's a bump in the road. It's just turbulence. I will get through this. I know I can do this. So,
I love that.
yeah,
The fight
it's
song. That's awesome.
yes, that was it. And I literally, yeah, like I listen to that almost every day. The words in it, like when you listen to the words, those became like my fight song words, and I would send them to people, and then people would send me cards with those lyrics in it, and yeah, it was pretty awesome. I think that the one again, I could talk for hours about the things that I've learned and this journey that I've been on. I've educated myself. The one thing that I can say and I would recommend to your listeners don't do, but it's just really hard not to, is when you do get the diagnosis of breast cancer, you immediately start Googling. You get on Google, You start Googling, oh my gosh, this, oh my gosh, that. What's going to happen with this? Why did I get this? What causes cancer? And I listen to podcasts myself, and it's interesting because they say, your lifestyle, your diet, the environment that you're in, stress, those four things play a huge role and have a big impact on your life as a whole. So I try to educate myself and look back and go, okay, if I'd asked myself of those things that I just mentioned, what would I say could have potentially contributed to this diagnosis? I would definitely have said stress, because I was working full time as an OT, teaching 4 classes of cycle a week. And I am not the kind of person who, if people are going to give me their time, I'm going to give them the best of mine. Even though I'm an occupational therapist, I lesson plan every day so I know what I'm doing with my students. And then my classes, my husband would literally say to me, oh my gosh, it's 11 o'clock at night. You're doing another playlist? Yep, I am. Yep. Changed my playlists a lot, and changed what I did. And I lesson planned even those classes. So I was kind of burning the candle at both ends, if you will, and just go, 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 go. And my job is not the easiest job. And teaching cycle, it's a lot of physical energy. So yeah, it was a lot. So the stress level for me was kind of high. And then we'll talk about diet in a minute, But if there's one thing, because you had asked what is like one piece of advice that you would give people, and this was something that took me a really long time through this journey, I'll be honest with you, is to stay positive. 100%. That is probably the most impactful thing, because your mindset and how you approach things is extremely powerful. Truthfully, if you look at things and you approach things negatively, which initially I did, I will be the first to admit to that, like just thinking negatively. I'm never going to get through this. I can't believe this is happening to me. I don't want to do this anymore. I can't fight. Just that negative energy constantly coming in. It just really doesn't do you much good. So it took me a while, and I had to change my mindset. And people kept saying to me too, Kari, you're doing awesome. You have to stay positive. Be positive, stay positive. So if that's one piece of advice I can give anybody, is
Yeah.
positivity. The power of positivity and the power of the mind just can play a huge role in your life in general.
What do you think really helped you? Like, when people would say, "You're doing awesome," like, were you like, "Ugh, don't tell me that." Was it hard to hear that, or do you think that's what pulled you out of it? Or was there something else that really pulled you into that positive direction?
I will say, I'll be honest with you. I think it definitely was people telling me,
Okay, that's
be,
good.
yeah, I believe it or not, when I was going through chemo, I taught a cycle class. I actually taught.
Talk about
People were like,
inspiration, my
oh,
gosh.
people are like, "Oh my gosh, are you crazy?" And I was like, "No, this is my love. I love doing this." And they're like, "Well, if you feel like you have some energy, do you want to come and try teach a class?" I said, "Sure." Was it hard? Yeah, it was hard. I'm not gonna lie, it was not easy. But yeah, so I did go and teach, and to hear all the positivity, like, Kari, you look great. You are so strong. You you just exert energy and positivity, and going through all of this, it's like you are an inspiration. And so hearing that every day, yeah, I think it definitely made me want to fight harder and keep going and stay strong and stay positive. So I do think that people telling me that and helping me, and along with my doctors, my nurses, everyone that took care of me, literally, like, again, gotta give a shout out to these people. Dr. Thomas was amazing. Dr. Mabry, love her. All of my doctors were awesome, and my nurses. And was I a nervous wreck going through all of that? Yes. Did I ask a lot of questions? Yeah. Did they think I was kind of a pain in the butt? Yeah. kind of wild, you
That's
know?
probably important. It's probably really that's good advice too. Be a pain in the butt because you needed
And
to ask yeah, you needed to ask those questions. Yeah.
absolutely, you
Yeah.
have to ask those questions and
Mhm.
advocate for yourself, and
Mhm.
yeah, so in my infusion center, oh, uh, that's another podcast for another time. I would love to share all
Yeah,
the
well, hey, we'll bring you back on. I've actually talked about that with a couple of guests, like, "Talk to me in a couple months when I have more to say." So, yeah, for sure.
yeah?
Not
Oh,
to
yeah, all
mention
the
we're friends now. I mean,
we are.
I'm gonna keep following you for
We
sure.
absolutely are friends, for sure. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but, through all of this, and again, going back to that power of positivity, I think also comes what comes with that is laughter and bringing humor into something that is and can be so traumatic. I mean, it has a caused trauma in my life, absolutely. It has, but I, I had to joke, I had to laugh. And my husband, he was a huge part of that as well. The nurses loved him. um, they did. I'm like, "I think they like you better than me," because he would go he never ever missed a treatment. He was at every single treatment of mine, and they loved him. And, even those 5, 6-hour-long treatments, he had them laughing, and he had me laughing, and again, just the power of laughter and positivity, what that can do in terms of getting you through something that's so traumatic and life-changing. And so mindset is everything. Mindset is everything.
I love that you said those things about your husband. That's again something else that we talked about in the previous episode, just like having a partner like that and truly testing in sickness and health.
Through sickness and health,
Yeah.
absolutely. Because I will tell you that there are, unfortunately, because I am and was part of a support group, and there are people out there that are going through breast cancer, really all kinds of cancer, that don't have the support that I had. And I really truly want people to know. I mean, even if I don't know you, you're never alone. You're
Mhm.
never alone.
Mhm.
And to find those people, to find that support, your listeners can always reach out to me, just for that. Hey, you've got this. It's going to be okay. A person that I talked to that went through the same thing as me, same diagnosis. And she came over one day and I was really depressed. I was down. And I said, I don't think I can do this. Kathy, I really don't think I can do this. She said, then don't. Then don't do it. Rip up the paperwork and don't do it. I was like, my gosh, thanks. That's nice. Needed a little bit of loving. But at the same time, I kind of needed that kick in the butt. Like, you do need to do this. So I said, okay. So there are people out there that are going through this that don't have people like that that are going to kick you in the butt or that are going to, you know, be there and provide that support. But I just want your listeners to know that there are support groups. There are people that have gone through it. They're never alone. They're not alone. So, you know, just always to know that. Always know that
I
they're never alone.
I'm not sure where faith falls in here for you. I don't wanna make assumptions. I don't make this a completely faith-filled Christian-based podcast, but I do bring in my thoughts on God quite often, and I strongly believe in God, and it's so crazy that you're saying the things you're saying today. I always say this about my guests, it's a God wink to me. God wink is another podcast I was on, and
Yes.
so that word pops up a lot for me. But God wink that I talk to people on the day that I talk to them. So you and I, we had a different day scheduled and we had to reschedule, but today was the day you were supposed to be on because you just said you're never alone. This morning, I was taking my dog for a walk and I looked up into the sky and I saw the sun and I saw those sunbeams coming out. You know, sometimes you can really see them coming out. And
Yes.
that always to me is like, that's God. That's a sign from God. Like, I'm here. Just a reminder, I'm here.
Yeah.
And today's Good Friday, just all of these things coming together. And so I took a video of it and then I made a reel about it and put it on my social media. And I said, just a reminder, you're never alone.
Absolutely.
I literally posted that this morning.
Oh my
So
gosh, I love it.
yeah, so in one way, yes, I believe God's always with us, but I love what you're saying too, that there are people that have been through things as well that can help you, or even if you have a close friend or family member that hasn't been through it, it's really great to know that you have these people and you're not alone. And if you need to depend on them, you can. So, I guess another reminder to listeners, unfortunately, you're right. Not everybody has maybe the same village you and I might have. Maybe they don't have a partner, but try to hold on to whoever you can, even if it's just one person. Make sure you have somebody that you can rely on and that they can rely on you. I think that's just such a great message and it's very important.
Absolutely. Absolutely 100% agree with you. And, that to speak about that, that is definitely one thing that I became so much closer to was my faith through this whole process. I had a friend of mine give me a devotion book, and I read a devotion every single day. And honest to goodness, I don't, I it brought a calmness to me. As I was going through every night, I would read it, and it was amazing, and it was a game changer for me because exactly, I did not feel alone. I didn't feel alone. I knew that God was with me the whole time, and to kind of speak about that, because one of the things, a valuable, valuable lesson that I learned through this whole process is to slow down. Slow down. And when I did through this process, I, this may sound great. I'm kind of a believer now more than ever in signs. I believe in them. And I will never forget, it was right shortly after I had been diagnosed. I was putting together laundry in my room, and I happened to go to my window and I lifted up my blinds, and there it was. And I have never, for the 20 some years I've lived in my home, I've never seen a cardinal in my yard, ever seen a cardinal in my yard. There it was in the bush, right outside my window, looking in at me. And I cried probably for over an hour because I knew that that was my sign that somebody's watching over me. God's got me. Somebody's watching over me. And I do have a lot of angels up there that are like, they're with me. They're looking over me. They're giving me that strength that I need every single day to power through. And when I did slow down my life and I would sit outside, I would ground myself. It's so important to do is ground yourself, look around you, take in your surroundings. It was unbelievable. I got a bird feeder, so I would sit outside and watch all the birds come. I had a blue jay and a cardinal come at the same time, and that's really rare. So I would look up, what does that mean? And so, yeah, through this whole process, I had signs the entire time. And I knew deep down in my soul, because I had my faith and because I believed in that and I had those signs along the way, I knew I was going to be okay. I knew I was going to be okay. I felt it deep in my soul. So, because of that, and I would pray every single night and I would say, I'm going to be okay because I am healthy, I'm well, and I'm healed. And I've got this and I can do it. So, faith played a huge, huge role in, I believe, where I am today. And still moving forward, I still pray every day. I pray for the people that are going through this, my family, family members, coworkers, friends, every single day. And I thank God every single day. You know, it was a journey. I think he gives a person only so much that they can handle. I said, okay, I think I'm good. I've been through a lot. I think this is good. I'm like, okay, I think
Yeah.
I've had enough.
Yes.
But I did it. So faith was a huge component in all of this. But at the same time, I've also learned a lot of things. I've changed a lot of things about my life, my diet, kind of a huge part of all of this. I'm not here to tell people what to do and how to do it or anything like that. Looking at like what I was doing prior to my diagnosis, like sugar. I would put a lot of sugar in my tea. I liked sweet wines. I would drink a Pepsi a day. I did work out and I would try to be healthy, but I then realized, my gosh, I was putting a lot of sugar into my body and not good. I wasn't eating enough vegetables. I wasn't eating enough fruit. I really had to take a look at what I was putting into my body. And that's one thing that I would love to kind of not stress to your listeners, but maybe just pay attention to things that you put in your body, that you put on your body. Because that's one thing I've definitely changed. I eat cleaner, I use clean products, I have an app. You may have heard of this, Andrea. It's called
Mhm.
the Yucca app.
Mhm.
Maybe, yeah. So I scan everything when I go shopping, and if it's not good, they'll give you suggestions on what is good. I think diet plays a huge role. And if you can try to be a little healthier, it'd be great. But believe me, I'm no expert, let me tell you, because there's a lot of things I could still work on. But again, going back to the valuable lessons, slow down, pay attention to your diet, your nutrition, because unfortunately, here in America, we have a lot of processed foods and it's not that great. The other thing that I did, which is kind of interesting because my brother in law, who's from Germany, when I was first diagnosed, he wanted to know why so many American women were getting diagnosed with breast cancer. So he kind of did a little bit of research himself. And the one thing that he came across, which I found very interesting, is I think he compared America to maybe China or France. But the first thing that popped up was they do not have bottled water. Whereas here, a lot of us drink bottled water. So I said, really? That's really interesting. And when you think about it, you know how they always say, don't drink warm water if it's been in a bottle, water bottle sitting in your car. So all the bottled water that people consume every day, you have no idea how long that water's been sitting in that plastic water bottle. Right? So that's one thing that I changed. I have a water filtration system now. Thankful to my coworkers who did an amazing fundraiser for me. So I filter my water. I try to just drink filtered water all the time. Again, like I said, cut out sweets and sugars and all of that kind of stuff. Just something I have done. But again, going back to those things, lessons learned on top of diet and nutrition and slowing down is trying to keep your stress level at a minimum if you can. Don't
Mhm.
sweat the small stuff because really in life, it isn't worth it. And I think back of all the little things that I was stressed out about or worried about. And now I'm like, oh, let it go. Like just let it go. Let people do what they need to do. And then I have to figure out, let me figure out how to do things. And obviously, if you can hear, I'm kind of quoting the Let Them Theory book.
Well, that's so crazy that you are talking about that because not only is that book sitting next to me right now, I've already read it once, but I bought another one because I had shared mine and I'm getting ready to do a book study on it. But I've also
Love it.
mentioned it like 3 or 4 times in our podcast. So, really good job, Carrie, bringing it all home to the Let Them theory because it is such a great theory and so important to all of us. So, keep
Absolutely.
going, girl. You are spot on with that.
Yeah. Oh, and I took notes and I folded pages. I'm like, yep,
Yep.
okay, this makes total sense.
It really, really
Um,
does.
yeah, and the other thing too, I think, and lastly, obviously, on top of all of those things, like I can't stress enough how important it is to move, to exercise, to get out, even if it's 10 minutes a day. Take a little short walk, or walking up and down your driveway a couple of times. Just keep your body moving, keep the lymphatic system moving. I cannot stress that enough. When it releases those endorphins and it just makes you feel good. So no matter what it is, even if you have to force yourself to do it, take that walk. Go take that little exercise class. Just keep moving. Keep
Yeah,
moving.
for
I
sure,
mean,
for sure.
as an OT, of course, I'm going to stress that. And I
Right.
love doing movement with my students, and they love it. And it just makes you feel good. It is, like I said, it's been quite a journey for me, and I have learned so much and I have educated myself so much and will be forever, ever grateful again to my family, to my friends, to meeting people like yourself, to tell my story. And I still have those moments. I still have
I'm
those
sure.
moments where I'll cry. And it's okay. It's okay to do that. As I've talked to many people who've gone through this, it's okay. You're going to have your moments. And I do. But then I pick myself back up and I say, okay, no, we're going to keep going. We're going to keep living, live each day. I love life so much. I love life. And to be able to wake up every day and to see the sunshine and just be ever so thankful for that. So these pivots in life are challenging, but they teach you a lot. They can be teachable moments and make you a better person sometimes through it. So yeah.
Wow. Well,
Yes.
I'm blown away. There's so many notes I've taken here. At first, when I heard you going through the different items that potentially could cause sickness like that, and at first I thought, well, I don't want her to blame herself, but I really love how you turned it around. I don't want to make this episode about me, but you really have brought some important things to my mind today.
Oh.
When I first heard of my son's diagnosis,
Mm.
it is a genetic disorder. It
Okay.
could spontaneously happen with a child or it can be passed down from the mother. In my case, it was passed down from me, and I had no idea that my genes carried this. So it was very hard at first to not blame myself.
Of
And
course.
there's even times now, 10 years later, I won't be thinking about it. And then all of a sudden I'll be like, well, this is what I gave my son. And my husband will get very upset. He'll get very sad when I say that. Like, don't say that. So when you started talking like, well, I could have eaten better and I could have done, I was like, oh, don't blame yourself because the blame game is very difficult. But I love how you spun it around and you said it could have been because of that. It could have been because of that. Let me make some changes. Let me understand how to better my life now, how to be an example for my kids, how to be an example for others. And I think that was so powerful for me to hear how you started off like, "Oh, I should have done this," but how you spun it positively. And I think too, I'm so very grateful that you shared your vulnerability. I was rock bottom and look at how positive I've come out. We all know people that have dealt with cancer. Unfortunately, a lot of women with breast cancer, we do hear that often. I have several friends. You made me think of some other people that I would like to have on the show to hear talk about their journeys.
Okay.
So there's so many people that we know, but you just think like, why did it happen to them, and where was it, and how can we prevent it ourselves? And I don't know. Sometimes it's random, and sometimes there are things you can do to prevent it. So I just really loved how positive, how you turned it in. Like I was going to say, we watch social media and we see people's perfect lives, and we think, oh, they've got everything going well for them. But
Yeah.
when you really open it up and hear what people have been through, I really want to thank you for sharing all of that in a real and raw way instead of, yeah, I got through breast cancer and I'm positive and everything's great. You shared your real journey and I really appreciate that.
Oh my gosh. Absolutely. It was such a pleasure, an absolute pleasure. And honestly, just talking with you, the first time that I talked with you, I felt like we connected. You have that kind of personality that I think will be longtime friends. Going back to your son, of course, I completely understand where you're coming from in that yes, you are going to blame yourself
Mhm.
because you think, oh my gosh, I gave him the gene and I didn't even know that. But I think that, if we spend the rest of our lives doing that, as opposed to looking at all of the amazing and wonderful things that we do have and what your son has taught you. And I'm sure if I met him, I would think he was an incredible kid. If he's anything like his mother, he's probably an incredible young man who has come from an incredible family. I think it's human nature. That's what we do. We blame ourselves. But we do have to turn that around and change that mindset. Like I said, we have to do that. I mean, just for our own mental well-being and our own physical health, and we just have to move forward is what we have to do.
Yep.
And just enjoy every moment that we have, no matter what. I have really truly learned that, and it scared me more than anything in life, having to deal with a diagnosis of cancer of any kind. Everything goes through your mind. Will I see my boys get married? Will I see my boys graduate? Will I make it to my 50th wedding anniversary? All of that goes through your mind. And I will end with this one thing that I did because I was ever, ever, ever so thankful to every single person that took me through this journey. And I don't have time to name them all, but they know who they are. I made a Christmas ornament for all of them. And I made 150 of them, I do believe. And it took me a while. And I made pink ones. And I just said, thank you on it. And I said, I want you to hang this on your tree every single holiday, every single Christmas. And just know the difference that you made in the life of someone with breast cancer. I wanted them to know how important what they did and the time that they spent and taking out of their day to just give me a phone call or go for a walk with me, what that meant to me. And so I made, gosh, I had people. helping me with this, like making all of these. And I wrote a long letter talking about my journey and what I had gone through and where I started to where I ended. I just, need people to know how important it was for them, to be a part of all of that and what they did for me. And like you said, going back to that little thing that you said, just that one little gesture, put a card in the mail or a little phone call makes a world of difference. It really truly does.
It
So,
does.
and I think for your son, he probably has great friends, and I'm sure that reach out to him. This was just an absolute pleasure. I was really nervous, I'm not gonna lie.
You
I
did.
was
I know, but I told you you were going to be great. And boy, did my listeners and myself, we learned so much from you today. What great perspective, such good advice. And the outlook is just amazing. I pray that you keep it going and you keep sharing it with others so they can all learn from you and what you've been through. Such a great example for us all, such a great example for your family and your boys. And I'm sure they see how strong their mama is on a daily basis. So thank you so much for all of that, for sharing everything. Like I said, we had a previously scheduled date and I think it needed to happen today. I think today was the day we were supposed to speak. So it all worked out. I just am very grateful for you sharing. And yeah, good reminders for everybody. And this is the challenge to you if you're listening. Text somebody you're thinking about today. Or if you've learned of somebody with a health diagnosis, reach out to them. Don't be afraid. Ask them if they need a meal or if they need a walk or if they need something. Or if it's just, hey, I haven't talked to my mom in a while. Let me give her a call. Life is
absolutely.
short. The challenge is today. Go out. And I'm going to do it after I get off of this as well.
Yes,
Text people that you're thinking of and just say, hey, I'm thinking about you. I hope things are going well today or anything you want to share. But I think it's important to remember that little gestures like that make such a difference. So thank you for
absolutely.
reminding us of that as well,
Of
Carrie.
course. Of course.
I do think we could talk forever, but
Yes.
I will let you get back to your day. But thank you. I appreciated having you on, and I cannot wait to share this beautiful conversation with others.
Thank you so much for having me. And I do look forward to talking with you in the future and staying connected with you. So thank you so much for everything. Thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining me for the Show Me the Way podcast. I truly appreciate you tuning in to today's episode about overcoming adversity and finding your path. I hope it brought you new insights, empowered you with perspective, and inspired you to find joy in your journey. If this episode touched your heart, don't forget to leave a quick review as it will help us reach and motivate more people. Until next time, keep seeking the light and showing the way.